In today's video, I'm going to show you the absolute fastest and easiest way to get into product photography. You only need one camera and one light. You don't have to worry about building complex sets. We're gonna take a lot of photos very quickly, and then we're gonna build this image in Photoshop. And the reason why this is the best way to do it is because we have absolute complete control. We can create any type of image we want or need, and after we're done, and we have this asset built, we can drop it into any background almost instantly. Our subject today is my luxury hot sauce brand, Olivium. I literally launched this on Amazon 1 month ago, and I feel like I need to update my listing photo, and so that's literally what we're doing today. I'm going to show you exactly how to get this done. We're gonna be doing this photo shoot in my office, and from this angle, you can see just how disgusting and dirty my office actually is. The cool thing about this type of photography is you don't need a lot of space, you don't need a lot of expensive gear. Let's first build a little set right here. Now, you can definitely just use 2 pieces of black foam core. Just go to Walmart and buy those. I happen to have this really fancy foam core here. This is called a V-Flat by V-Flat World. The key here is that we just need enough space between the product and the back wall so that we can fit lights back here. So don't buy the smallest piece of foam core, buy a slightly larger one, and that's gonna give you enough room to work. On top of the foam core here, I'm just gonna put a piece of glass. And the reason why we want this is because we wanna be able to capture the reflections, realistic reflections from the product itself. You can try to do this in Photoshop, but it's never going to be perfect. And it's just so easy to put a piece of glass down and get real reflections. And then it just gives us options when we get back into post. All right, let's quickly talk about the gear I'm going to be using. I'm going to be shooting on the Sony a7 IV. In all honesty, guys, camera does not matter. The lens is the Tamron 28-75 2.8 lens. I love this lens, guys. This thing is currently on sale, I think, for $700. And you can spend $700 on this, or you could spend $2,300 on Sony's version. Yes, Sony's version is a little bit better, but is it 3 times better? In my opinion, absolutely not. So if you're looking for a great lens that's gonna do well in low light, or for something like product photography, check this out. I'll link it down below. So guys, we can shoot this from any angle. We could shoot it from a low angle or a high angle. I want, for the sake of this video, to be kind of like right on the money, even with the product itself. We're gonna get that nice reflection there. And if you feel like you need more reflection, you can just push the bottle back just a little bit, and that's gonna give us a little bit more space here. We want to minimize distortion. So we're going to zoom in all the way. On this lens, it's 75 millimeters. And we're gonna try to fill as much of the frame with the bottle and the reflection as possible. If you have a taller product or a really long reflection and you want to get the most resolution possible, turn your camera vertically and then you can get the entire thing from top to bottom in your frame. And we want our framing to be as perfect as possible because we're gonna lock this all down and we're not going to touch it anymore. For lighting, I'm going to be using Pro Photo strobes. Specifically, this is the Pro Photo B10. This is a super expensive system. It's like the Lamborghini of lighting. If you want to spend the money, feel free. I think it's great. However, it's not required at all. You could use a $20 used speed light you got off of Facebook Marketplace, and the photos are going to look the exact same. First of all, I'm going to set my lens to 2.8, which is the widest aperture. That's going to give me the shallowest depth of field. And I'm going to set the camera to manual focus. I am then going to personally fine tune it, and I'm going to make sure that I'm perfectly focused on the front of this bottle. Once I lock in my focus at f2.8, I stop down to f14 to get incredibly deep depth of field. I'm then going to choose the lowest ISO, which I believe for this camera is ISO 100. You then need to raise the shutter speed up to the maximum sync speed of your particular camera, just to make sure that we're cutting out all ambient light. So none of the lights in my room are going to be affecting this at all. 100% of the light is going to be coming from the strobe. At this point, I don't want to touch anything. I don't want to move the bottle. I don't want to move the set. I don't even want to touch the camera to take pictures. So I'm going to be using the Imaging Edge app. This is Sony's app to remotely control the camera. My goal is to light this product from every angle with hard, medium, and soft light. If I can do that, then I can literally create anything I want when I get back into Photoshop. For hard light, I'm going to step back with this bare bulb flash. It's going to be a relatively small light source and it's going to create hard shadows. For medium light, I'm going to turn the power down and get much closer. And as you can see, relative to this product, this light is actually quite big. And then for soft light, I'm going to turn this all the way up, add a big softbox, and light this from every angle that I can with a much larger light source. Let's first start with hard light, and I'm gonna focus first on the most important part of this entire shoot, the label itself. I am just arbitrarily picking a power output here, and you can see that's a little dark, so I'm just gonna turn it up one stop, and that is looking pretty good. Now that I have a correct exposure, I'm gonna try to stay about this distance away from the product, and I'm just gonna shoot it from every angle. When I start moving around the bottle, I want to take a look at those highlights casting on the side of the bottle, and I want to make sure they're not completely blown out. I like those highlights, I'm going to use them, but if they're pure white, it removes a lot of the options that we have in post. So if you take a look at a shot and it's too dark, you can either turn the power output up on the flash, or you can take a step forward and the flash will be a little brighter on the product. I also want to light it from above, just to have it. All right, that took like 30 seconds and we are 1/3 done already. We're gonna turn the power way down. We're gonna do the exact same thing, but we're gonna be much closer to the product. This is going to make the apparent size of our light much larger, and we're gonna get medium shadows. Now it's time for soft light, and to do that, I'm going to be using this Octabox here. Just gonna turn up the power, and we're gonna do the exact same thing. Real quick, guys, I just wanted to mention, if you're into product photography and you're enjoying this video, but you want to go a little bit deeper, you want to learn from the absolute best, check out our full-length photography tutorial called The Hero Shot with Brian Rogers Jr. This guy is unbelievable. A lot of the stuff that I'm teaching in this tutorial, I learned from him. So if you want to go to the next level or you want to go pro with product photography, check it out at fstoppers.com/store. It's called The Hero Shot. All right, we're done with the bottle, but we also have this box that we have to shoot as well. And you might be wondering, why in the world didn't you just put the box in the shot with the bottle? You could get it all done at once. And the reason for that is options. We want to photograph this one time, and then we want to be able to make any type of image after this that we want to. We could shoot different backgrounds. We could use AI to create different backgrounds. We could use it with the bottle alone, the box alone, with the box and bottle together. Maybe we want the box on the left side. Maybe in the next shot, we want the box on the right side. So I need to photograph them both separately so that we can cut them out individually, and then we can move them wherever we want in Photoshop afterwards. So I'm gonna start the whole process over again. f2.8. ISO auto, just so that I can put this in here. Manual focus. And then we're gonna stop back down to f14. ISO 100. And for this shot, I've already got the softbox on it, so we're just gonna work in reverse here. We are done. Let's go into Photoshop. All right, we're gonna start with the bottle first, and the first image that I like to choose is what I find to be the most important aspect of the photograph, which in this case would be the label or the product logo. I think this is the best image. Not only does the logo look good here, but we also have a very flat lit bottle here. You can see on some of these other ones, we have a nice looking label, but we've got these reflections in the glass that would be kind of difficult to deal with. We can always add reflections back in if we want to, but when it comes to like a solid image to begin with, I would like a clean palette like this. So I'm just gonna right click on this one and edit in Adobe Photoshop. All right, let's look at the wooden lid here. As you can see, I'm lighting it very direct on, and it's kind of flattening it out a little bit. I want a little bit more dimension to this, and I feel like this lid looks a little bit better, so I'm going to right click here, edit in Photoshop. I am then going to hit Control A to select all, Control C and Control V and paste that right on top. And if we've done this correctly here, everything should just line up perfectly because we didn't move the camera, we didn't move the product itself. I am going to select just the lid that I want here, and I'm going to click the Create Layer Mask button right here, and it's going to create a mask that reveals just this part of the image. As you can see, we've got a hard line here, and I'm just going to paint that away using a brush and black, and you can see I can paint that away here. It doesn't really matter what the background is doing because we're gonna cut the background out a little bit later. Now let's head back into Lightroom and find some highlights for the sides of the bottle. This highlight looks awesome, all the way down the lid, all the way down the bottle, and on the label here. We're gonna right click, edit in, Photoshop, select copy, paste on top here. We're gonna make sure that it's the layer that's on top of everything else. We're going to create a selection that's just down the side where the highlight is that we want. We're going to create a mask right here. And then we're going to set the blending layer to lighten. That's only going to reveal the brighter parts of the image. And you can see here on and off. Now I need to find a highlight on the other side of the bottle that looks the exact same. I think this one will work. We'll test it. Edit in, Photoshop, select, copy, paste, highlight. Remember, we want to go all the way down, all the way through the reflection. Create a mask, blending mode, lighten. As I'm looking at this, I do not like the way this reflection here is going dark and then white. I feel like the reflection needs to be on the actual edge of the bottle. And this is a great example of why you need to take a bunch of different pictures, because hopefully I got one where that reflection actually touches the edge of this bottle, because I don't think that looks good. So see how this goes all the way to the edge of the bottle here? I think that's going to be better. Let's try. Edit in Photoshop. I'm just gonna hide that side. Can you guys see the difference here? We've got one highlight that's going right to the edge, and then we've got another highlight that's on the inside. I feel like this highlight on the edge looks better. So let's see if we can find one for the right side. There's one, edit in, Photoshop, paste, grab what we want, mask, blending mode, lighten. So I feel like that is looking much better. Now, you'll notice that we have very bright highlights here that are really going to pure white. Might be a little bit much for me. And then we're going very dark, almost pure black before we get more data again. I'm gonna go in and see if I can find some lighting here that I can just add a little bit more, because it's so contrasty right now. I think it's too much. That's maybe looking a little bit better. Let's try to find one for the other side. I think that one looks good. Right click, edit in, Photoshop. Select all, copy, paste, highlight what we want, and layer mask, and lighten. Now comes the artistic part where we're gonna go in and fine tune each layer and try to get this looking a little bit more realistic. And for areas that we're not trying to affect, what I'm gonna do is get the brush tool. I'm going to paint on the mask layer black, and we're just going to remove out what we don't want. These highlights on the side, they're just a little much, a little bright. So I'm just gonna tone down the opacity just a little bit here. Same thing on the other side. I feel like that's looking pretty good. So we've got a preliminary edit of the bottle. Now let's move on to the box, and then we'll fine tune everything once we have both together. I personally like choosing what's most important. That's going to be the front of this box with the logo and everything. I want that looking the absolute best. All right, I think this one is the best. Right click, edit in, Photoshop, Now, this is going to be a lot easier than the bottle because we're not dealing with a round object that's made of glass and super reflective. So we may only need one other shot, and that would be the side of this thing. Let's see what we can find over there. All right, this might be it right here. Right click, edit in, Photoshop. Select all, copy, paste. I'm gonna grab just this edge right here, create a mask, and lighten. Now you guys will notice the back of the box is torn. I actually used this box to get one of the shots for the commercial for this, and when I pulled it off, it ripped. And you might ask, well, why don't you just use another box? You have thousands of boxes, don't you? Yes, I do have thousands of boxes. The thing is, every single one of them is different. Each one of these is a different prototype, and the box that I currently have for sale is not as high quality as this new prototype I got, which will be the next batch, which I have just ordered. So I really want to photograph the box that I'm gonna have in the future that's the best looking. So it's very important that I use this particular box. The problem is that looks horrible back there. So what can I do to fix that? Let's see if I can just copy and paste this up here. Yeah, I think that will work. Create a mask, black brush, and we're just gonna paint out that seam right there so it's not quite as obvious. Now it's time to do very fine-tuned editing on both the bottle and the box. And in a perfect world, you would edit every single one of these layers individually, and that would give you the ability one day later on down the road to have a perfectly polished shot that is also super editable. So if you wanted to, for instance, Photoshop this bottle into a set where the highlight on the left side wouldn't make any sense, you want to just be able to toggle off that layer and the highlight on the left disappears, and boom, it's just ready to go. The problem is when you have this many layers and they're all blending together like this, finding the layer or layers to remove a small little blemish would take hours and hours and hours. Maybe that is the correct way to do things. That's the best way to do things, but I don't have that type of time. So what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to shrink everything down. I'm still gonna keep all these layers in a Photoshop document, but I'm gonna shrink everything down into one layer to do my very detailed editing. To do that, I'm going to hit Control-Shift-Option-E. And as you can see, it creates a new layer on top, which is all of the other layers down below combined into one. I'm then going to choose the spot healing brush, and I'm just gonna go at it. So there's just a lot of little details like this. You can see the seam in the glass right here. All this is coming out. So give me like 20 minutes and I'll be done. All right, looking at this logo here, just the way it's printed and the embossing being slightly off is driving me nuts. So I'm just gonna spend the time and fix this real quick. Give me a second, let me draw this out. All right, I've created a path, right click, make selection. I'm gonna do 0 pixels. We're gonna use the stamp tool, and I'm gonna grab here, and I'm just gonna draw in the edge. That looks much better. So I'm gonna do that again to these flames here. All right, it's looking good. Now it's time to cut the entire thing out, the bottle and the reflection. Once again, we have to use the pen tool. This is very tedious, but I'm going to speed it up for you. All right, I've selected everything. I'm going to go into path, and I am going to name this, because if you don't name it, the next time you use the pen tool, it will overwrite it. So I'll just call it bottle and reflection. Make selection. This time I'll do 1 pixel, select, modify, contract 1 pixel. It's just shrinking in just a little bit from my selection there. And I am going to Control C for copy and paste. Now at this point, I'm just gonna hide everything down below. You can see this is what we have here. Now I want the reflection to be separate from the bottle itself. So I'm just gonna come up here and I am going to draw right around here using the pen tool. Right click, make selection, 0 pixels this time. And now I'm going to cut, so Control or Command X, and then paste on a different layer. And for some reason Photoshop likes moving it. I don't know why. And so we just have to find the exact spot where it goes. So now we have the bottle on the top and the reflection on the bottom. This is just gonna give us the ability to edit the bottle and the reflection independently from one another. Below these layers, just so it's a little bit easier to see, let's drop another background in. I'm gonna hit Control-Shift-N to create a new layer here, and it can be any color we want. For Amazon, it has to be white, so we could just use the paint bucket and fill this in with white here. And now let's go back over to the box. I am going to merge all into one layer, Control-Shift-Option-E, and we're gonna do some detailed editing very quickly. Now we need to cut it out using the pen tool. While I was cutting it out, I realized I didn't do the reflection. So I think the way I'm gonna fix this is just with color, I think. I'm gonna create a new layer. I am going to grab the paintbrush. I'm gonna grab this color gray right here. I'm gonna click down here and then come up here, hold Shift and click. It's gonna create a straight line like that. And then I'm gonna set the blending mode to color. I think that's fine. We are going to right click on the path, make selection, feather radius 1 pixel. We're going to go to select, modify, contract by 1 pixel. Copy that, and paste it, and then I'm just gonna hide all the layers below. And once again, we need to disconnect the box from the reflection. We're gonna hit Control X to cut and paste, drop it below. Why does it move? Because Photoshop hates me. And let's put it back where it belongs. So now I'm gonna click on one layer, hold Shift, click on the other layer, and drag it to my other project that has the bottle itself. You can see I can drop it right in there. And then we can move it around until it looks good. Now, the whole reason we're doing all this work is so that when we're done, we're gonna have this perfectly edited shot that's cut out and we can drop it on any background. And right now we have it on this pure white background. You'll notice it looks a little underexposed. I'm just gonna use the paintbrush here and fill it in with black. And you'll notice now it feels like a correct exposure, and that's because we photographed it on black. So just keep in mind, you're probably going to have to do a little tweaking depending on the color of your background. Like if we choose a gray here, I would say, you know, maybe we could brighten it up a little bit here. But if you're gonna do pure white like this, you're definitely gonna have to brighten it up. The first thing that I'm going to do is show you how I can use these files to create a Amazon listing photo. And I'm just gonna create a new document here that is 2000 by 2000. And I'm gonna grab all 4 of these layers and drop it in here. And obviously you'll notice we have more than enough resolution here. Now the goal when it comes to that Amazon product listing is to fill up as much space in this square as you possibly can. And you'll notice that my bottle is significantly smaller than my box. But because we photographed them separately, we can go in and fine tune them. We can shrink that box just a little bit and make it fit. And I don't think a customer would ever notice or complain or anything like that, but it's gonna make our listing stand out so much more because we're gonna be able to make our bottle that much bigger. So I'm just going to grab the box and the box's reflection individually, and we're gonna shrink this down to fit, and I just want to see a little bit of reflection right there. Now, one thing you'll notice right off the bat, we're not straight here. So we can go to Edit, Transform, and Skew. So I feel like the logo looks perfect, but the rest of the bottle looks a little bit dark. I'm just gonna duplicate this bottle here, add a bit of a curves adjustment, and then I'll add a layer mask and paint away the logo here. I'm gonna duplicate the box, and same thing. Let's see if we can just brighten this up just the littlest bit. Add a little more contrast. Something like that, maybe. Now I am going to move the two reflection layers next to each other here. And I'm even gonna merge them together just to make it a little easier. And I'll put a layer mask, and I'm just gonna paint out the bottom here, just because we want it to go to pure white right at the bottom. And finally, this is a habanero hot sauce. So I am going to use the power of AI here. I'm just gonna highlight this section right here, and generative fill will come right up, and it'll say, what do you want? And I'll say habanero. I never in a million years would have believed this would work. And it doesn't work perfectly every time, but I'm telling you, if you just give it a few tries, this can save you hours and hours of work. Look, it even does a reflection. Absolutely nuts. So these are close, but none of them are perfect. I'll just hit generate again, and I'm just gonna keep hitting generate until I get one that's perfect. All right, I think I like that one. Finally, I feel like this sauce looks a little bit yellow. I am going to select the layer of the bottle on top here, and I'm just gonna grab just what I need here. That, hold shift, grab this. We will go to Image Adjustments, Replace Color. We're gonna click on the color we want to replace, and then we can move this hue slider until we get that nice orange. We can add saturation if we want it to be brighter, and for the sake of Amazon, we want it to be ultra bright, even to the point of absurd, because people are gonna be looking at it very small, and you want them to stop and click. Finally, we are done. I showed you guys how to photograph a product, edit it in Photoshop, put it together for an Amazon listing, and stay tuned, because coming up in the next week or two, I'm going to release another video that teaches you how you can use these assets that you've already created combined with AI, and you can use AI to generate hundreds or thousands of super unique, incredible backgrounds, and then you just place this product that you've already photographed and edited onto these AI generated backgrounds. You can do it so fast, and the finished product looks amazing. Stay tuned for that. I would love it if you would check out Olivium. It is expensive, and if you're thinking, man, I don't know if I want to spend that kind of money on hot sauce, what if I don't like it? If you buy it on my website and you don't like it, send me an email. I will give you all of your money, including shipping back. I am a hot sauce fanatic. I love hot sauce. My fridge is filled with like 20 different hot sauces. I love them all. But in all honesty, this is my favorite hot sauce. I eat it every single day. And if you like hot sauce, I think you'll love it. See you soon, guys.